Welcome back to test number 7 here, and you can probably hear them a little bit under the weather on this recording, but hopefully it doesn't detract from the quality of the tactic, which I'm really excited about. Before we get to the tactic, though, I do want to remind you that all of the tactics are downloadable via the Discord server. There's a link in the description, and once you've joined the Discord, there is a Dropbox folder that you can also join and get the link to, and once you've done that, you don't even have to stay in the Discord, but if you choose to, there are lots of channels available to you to talk about tactics, share some of your own independent testing results, and just get involved in our community. So we'd love to have you stop on by and spend some time with us. And I think you'll find that there's a lot of great people looking to give feedback on tactics and give you a hand. And you might even run by my first two patrons, Ultre and Monte Benchik, have both joined the Patreon as well. There's a link to that in the description too. It gets you access to a little bit of extra content as well, so you can check out the description there. But most importantly, it'll give you beta testing access to the new testing database when it is released, which hopefully is before the new year, but we're just trying to work out a lot of kinks and get a lot of different things tested. And then once it's ready to go, the patrons will help us kind of beta test the database before passing it on to you fine folks. So let's take a look at the tactic. All right, so this is the tactic, and if you played during the FM20 and FM21 cycles, it might look a little bit familiar to you. It's a little bit of an oldie but goodie, this kind of like arrowhead shape where you kind of have, the forward attacking triangle. And I've noticed that the double shadow striker kind of look has been pretty effective this year. So please give this a go in your own tactic, but let's run through the actual roles here. So the advance forward, take fewer risks, shoot less often, tackle harder, dribble more. We want them running with the ball. We want them creating space for the shadow strikers to be able to feed them. So we want these front three really feeding each other. And that's why you have the shoot less often. You want these people taking the shot when it is a high percentage opportunity. It's a great way to get more XG per shot out of your tactic, and something that I highly recommend. Against the AI, having your attacking players tackle harder is a good way to make sure your press is active as well, and get stuck in here on the opposition without having the instruction turned on. Defensive wingers will do the same thing. They'll actually close down more as well and tackle harder as a default. But if you want them being more involved in the offense, which I do in this tactic, you can also set them to take more risks and to cross from the byline, which means they are going to be getting into these forward spaces more often, trying to cross from deep up the pitch and finding one of the three attacking players in the middle of the field. The anchor man as well sits deep, tackles harder, takes fewer risks, just stays back. I've noticed and discussing with some other people as well that the halfback is getting a little bit too adventurous this year. If you really want one of those midfielders to be sitting deep and shielding the front three, shielding the back four or back three, anchor seems to do a better job of it than halfback. If the halfback doesn't have a natural place to slot, then they almost become more of a ball winner rather than like an anchor. So it's something to watch for in your own saves. The IWBs are on attack, so they are going to bomb forward. They're going to underlap these defensive wingers, and they're going to combo with those shadow strikers, and it is very impressive in the attack. Now, obviously, against the AI, you can survive the defensive pushback a lot of the time, but in PvP or something like that, these attacking IWBs might be a little bit of a liability. These ball-playing defenders as well just have dribble more turned on, so that they will also take some of that ground in front of them and really drive the play forward, but something that you've seen on a lot of the tactics so far on the channel. One other quick thing I want to talk about is overlap left and right is so that those IWBs don't get super centered, and in fact they kind of stay in the outside and one channel to the inside, and they don't really ever get to the very middle of the pitch. So it's just to kind of restrict them a little bit more so that they don't get beat on the counter out wide as a matter of fact. So instead it gives them an opportunity to track back and get there as well. So we are rolling it out. We are counter pressing. We are playing a high press and the very aggressive, much deeper line to really help those IWBs combo with those shadow strikers. So let's take a look at the tactic in action and get stuck in on some highlights. right, here we go. This highlight really takes another look at that ball playing defender with Dribble Moore driving forward and just carrying the ball through the defense while your other offensive players are really kind of marking and being marked by everybody else on the defense. So the ball playing defender can just maraud forward. We're going to see Rafael Toloi here start with the ball and become the assister, and it'll show you too the kind of layered approach to the Shadow Striker advanced forward runs as well for being offensive targets. So let's get started here with Toloi, and he just dribbles for days. Hateboer packs right back to him, and this is the center back out wide because Zortea there is the IWB, and then you got Hoyland who then passes across to Zapata. So I forgot, it's not Toloi with the assist, but Toloi with the hockey assist there into the cutback there from our Shadow Striker, who was Hoyland at the time. Boga was substituted out across to Zapata, easy goal. But you also had Pasalic there as well as one of the layers of the cutbacks that were possible, and there were lots of people to aim for on the cutback. And again, look too here, 5.2 XG at home is nothing to be like shy about. Like, this is a very attacking tactic, which is something that you're sure to see if you are able to download it yourself and use it in your save. All right, so this highlight demonstrates the high line and really how compact your offensive players are. So we are pushing way past the center line with both of our center backs. Toloi here is going to start on the ball here, and it just shows you too like how much space. We still have good spacing, but also they're connected to each other, which really helps for the link ups. But here, this is going to be a goal from one of the Shadow Strikers, making themselves an option, pushing back the defensive line. So Coop Miners back to Demerol, and then there's that IWB playing that kind of high DLP kind of role there. So it's in the offensive third, at the top of the offensive third, plays that ball over the top. The Shadow Striker is there and is able to convert and score. And now this is a away game against Napoli, and we have really been able to put up some numbers on them as well in a 3-2 win. So it does kind of once again showcase the power of this tactic. All right, so this is a quick one, very similar to the last highlight, but just again to showcase how the compact nature of the high line puts those IWBs in position for balls over the top that are actually not very difficult because of how compressed everything is. So I'm just going to let it play from here, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Lookman plays to Rigeri ball over the top. Zapata is there and he scores. Just very simple finish, very simple ball. Those diagonal balls in behind by the IWBs with the compressed field is just phenomenal. All right, so this highlight is going to be the final one today's video, and it isn't a goal from the IWB on the left-hand side. So you're going to watch the defensive winger get involved in the play too a little bit deeper than you would expect, and then the IWB is also going to finish this off. So let's go ahead and roll the highlight here, and it's going to start with Darun winning a ball here in midfield, hitting it up to the Shadow Striker, who then plays in the defensive winger on this overlapping run here, and then he turns, whips it back across. That's Mele there, who's able to fire one in and off the keeper. Not a great save, obviously, there by Radu, but tucked way up high and inside. And actually, I lied. I think it is a defensive winger, but Brandon Soppy, the IWB, was right there on the top of the box as well. So if you noticed that as well, you saw that the IWB was also in position for that cross, and Mele was there, tucked way inside as the off-the-ball defensive winger, and was in position to score. So my apologies on a little bit of the preview there. I thought Mele was playing IWB in the game, but Soppy as well was way high. So if you go back and look at that highlight again, you'll see what I mean. The IWB was super high. Zappacosta as the defensive winger on support here would get further forward and cross from byline, went really deep into the hole, was able to cross it back to Pasalic, knocked it down for Mele, and then shoom, bam, goal. So it was a really nice play and something that is really good. I'm really excited to show you the results, so let's go do that right now. All right, so the first thing you'll notice here is that it's not showing Atalanta in first position, and that's because of the three-way tie at the top and us losing on head-to-head. But if you look closer to the numbers, you'll see that we have the highest goal difference by 11. So 26 and 6 is a pretty 26, 6 and 6 is an incredible result, and something with Atalanta that you should be really proud to achieve. I think anything 84 points and higher is a great result with this Atalanta team, who's projected to finish slightly upper mid-table, and you're passing a lot of good sides en route to championships, which we've done in a lot of tests and basically did in this test as well, and it's something you should really look forward to. So if you take a little bit deeper look into the numbers, 106 goals scored, 44 allowed. It's a decent number of allowed goals for sure, and there was a 6-4 thriller that we lost to Napoli, which is one of the reasons why we lost the tiebreaker to them as well. There are goals that your opponents are going to score, but if you can game manage, and switch those IWBs into support, maybe drop one of those shadow strikers into the midfield. There are things that you can do, drop that offensive defensive line down to higher or even standard. There are things you can do to see out wins without conceding goals. Obviously, it's a blunt instrument to holiday test a tactic that's got a very high defensive line. So that is something that you should take a look at, ways to game manage to prevent those goals from being scored. But 106 goals scored is just ridiculous. What a result. And if you take a look at some of the stats too behind that, you'll see too that 86 XG on the season, which is 21 XG clear of Napoli, which is just ridiculous. So obviously there was a 26 goal difference as well, but this 86 goals XG as well is just great. So a number that you should really, really be looking for when you're trying to build a winning, attacking tactic. So something that I think you should definitely approach this tactic with is the idea that you are going to score goals. So let's go ahead and change the filter, get rid of some of these players that aren't at the club, and take a look at the appearance leaders as well. And you'll see Pasalic as a shadow striker, 13 goals, 10 assists, 11 XG from that shadow striker role. And the other shadow striker was Ruslan Malinovsky, who also scored 13 goals en route to 24 assists, which is just a ridiculous number. He is on set pieces, but even if you take away probably 10 or so set piece assists, the numbers of the two shadow strikers are really the headlining act here in this tactic. And again, Zapata must have had an injury, which maybe if there wasn't a Zapata injury too, this tactic probably does even better, but still managed 18 goals on 18 XG. And Luis Muriel filled in quite nicely, 14 starts, had 18 goals in 14 starts. So I guess maybe it wouldn't have necessarily done better because both strikers were firing. In fact, the replacement Muriel had an even better strike rate than Zapata did. So perhaps we benefited from the injury, if anything. But really the feature of this tactic is the three-pronged attack through the middle, the shadow strikers becoming creators and the striker finishing off those attacks. And so you're seeing too some assists coming from the various players that are playing defensive winger and fullback as well. 8 assists from Zappacosta. You've got these assists from Lookman here as well, but the highest assisters that are not the front three is these defensive wingers and inverted wingbacks. So we are getting some outside in movement for the ball as well, which is something we're looking forward to in this tactic, and it's working a treat. So final thing I'll kind of leave you with again is I think this tactic is quite good. I think it is something that could have legs. It is tested on the 23.2 update too for the database, and something that is some of the previous tactics on the channel haven't done as well in the 23.2 database as I retested them, but this tactic did very well on the new update, so it's something I definitely recommend that you give a shot to. Now again, as always, you can download the tactic in our Discord server. Check that out in the link below. There's also a Dropbox link in the Discord server as well, and maybe that link also in future videos I might just slap it into the video description too, to see how that works out for you all, to be able to download the tactic without joining the Discord, which is some feedback I've gotten for some viewers. Also join the Patreon, and again, follow me on Twitch, which is something I don't talk about enough. The link to my Twitch channel is in the description. This year I'm trying to win the Club World Cup from a team outside of Europe, and I'm currently managing Colo Colo in Chile, but I'm allowed to move around the world to wherever I think gives me the best chance to win that Club World Cup and unseat the European giants. So will I end up in Brazil? Probably. probably, but it's still going to be a difficult challenge and one that might take me a pretty long time on this cycle. So get involved on Twitch as well. You can watch me streaming there on Thursdays and Sunday nights, and perhaps in December and January I might be adding another stream as well. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, I'll see you next time for test number 8 next week, and enjoy.